Honey has been treasured for centuries, not just as a sweetener, but as a source of unique benefits and fascinating qualities. Here are 5 surprising facts about honey that you may not know. Fact number 1, honey never spoils. Archaeologists have found honey in ancient Egyptian tombs that is still edible after thousands of years. Honey's low water content and high acidity create a naturally preservative environment that keeps it from spoiling. Fact number 2, honey contains trace nutrients. Besides being a sweetener, honey provides small amounts of vitamins and minerals like vitamin C, calcium, and iron, along with antioxidants that help fight inflammation. Fact number 3, there are over 300 varieties of honey. Each variety has a unique flavor, color, and health benefits. Manuka honey, for example, is known for its antibacterial properties, which even make it suitable for medical use in wound dressings. Fact number 4, bees travel far to make honey. To produce 1 pound of honey, bees collectively travel around 55,000 miles, visiting over 2 million flowers. It's a truly monumental effort to create even a small amount of honey. Fact number 5, honey can improve sleep. Eating a bit of honey before bed can promote better sleep. It triggers insulin release, which boosts serotonin production. This serotonin is then converted into melatonin, the hormone that regulates sleep. Cheers! Hello, ladies and gentlemen, craft spirit enthusiasts, and those interested in the intoxicating world of craft distilleries, cideries, meaderies, wineries, and the occasional foray into breweries. It's Rich Shane, and welcome to Fermented Adventure, the podcast, where we bring you the fascinating people that are making the mash, fermenting, distilling, bottling, pouring, and delivering to you some of the finest libations in the world. Before we get started, here are a few housekeeping items. Thank you for bringing the podcast into wherever you are and whatever you're doing. We truly are grateful that you have chosen to listen and make us part of your day. It would mean the world to us if you left a 5-star review. This helps us climb in the rankings, and it makes it easier for others to find us. Don't hesitate to leave us your comments as well. If the podcast didn't meet your expectations, tell us why. We're always striving to improve. You can find us at fermentedadventure.com. We are on Instagram and Facebook as Fermented Adventure. Email us at fermentedadventure@gmail.com. All right, FA Nation, let's meet our guests. He's Walt Talunas. He's Steve Occhiolini. Dawn Ranieri's here. And I'm Rich Shane, and this is the Fermented Adventure, the podcast. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much for having us.
Well, Fractured Sauce, our friends, we saw them at the Bauer Hot Sauce Festival, and they said, have you talked to Buzz Mead? And we said, no, where's Buzz Mead? Right here in Chester County. And we said, well, we would love to talk to them. And here we are. How did Buzz Mead get started?
Want me or you?
Yeah, you go first. Yeah.
So Buzz Mead got started on a whim, basically. So there's 3 of us in the company, myself, Steve, and our third partner, George Dado. We're all beekeepers, and we all decided, like, hey, okay, we have bees, let's make honey, let's sell the honey. What else can we do with the honey? So Steve had the brilliant idea of doing infused honeys. We also do creamed honeys, different flavors. And then George said, hey, can we make mead? I'm like, well, I do that. I'm a recreational home brewer and winemaker. I've been doing that almost 30 years, and I had a couple cases of mead in my basement. I'm like, here, try one I made 7 years ago. Steve and George tried, like, hey, there's something here. Let's give it a whirl. So we started with the traditional meads. That took off, and then later on we'll get to another question about how the cans came about. We just wanted to expand and delve into and go down the crazy rabbit hole of what we can create. You know, so it's all about creation process and what people want and what we can share with them and give them new experiences.
All right, let's go back a little bit.
Yes.
You talked about you're a beekeeper. Mm-hmm. How did you get involved in being a beekeeper?
It was by accident. So this was back in 2000, and it was when everyone was Googling things, and even now it still happens. You Google something, hour later you're on some totally different topic. I was looking up something, came across this woman who was a beekeeper. I'm like, okay, so I always thought beekeepers a little in the head. Hey, these people mess with things that sting them, it hurts, there's thousands of them. And I was reading her blog, and what got me interested was the last line of each entry was how many stings to date. And it was 6 months until she got her first sting. And I was like, oh, this isn't what I thought it was. Maybe these people aren't nuts. So I looked up beekeeping in Chester County. Luckily, we have an association, went to a meeting, and met a whole bunch of people, and they weren't what I thought either. I'm like, oh, these are normal people. Like our third partner, George, he's a pediatrician. So, I'm an IT guy, Steve's in accounting, so it's, normal people doing this. I'm like, oh, maybe there's something here. So went to a meeting, gave it a whirl, got my first 2 hives that year, and now I'm up to 50 hives, almost 50 hives.
So you brought live bees with you today.
Yes.
Now, how big is that colony right now, and how do you manage that? Because that's almost like a traveling bee colony,
yes,
essentially, right?
Yeah, so what you're looking at here is 1/10 of a hive, and that frame is only coming out to kind of show you. So that's going to go back in the hive tonight when we get back home, but it's just for show. But yeah, the hives are about 10 times that size, and right now, there's like maybe 10 or 20,000 bees in the hive. Over the winter, it'll dwindle down to 5, and then at the height of the season in May and June, there'll be up to like 50 or 60,000 bees in each hive. So their population waxes and wanes with actually the nectar flow. And in this area, it's at the peak in May and June, as you would imagine, when everything's in bloom. So the queen lays more eggs, they raise more bees so they can bring more honey in. And then as the kind of season dries up in July and August, she stops laying eggs or slows down, and the population starts to decline.
Pardon the interruption. Thank you so much for listening to Fermented Adventure, the podcast. Could you do us a favor? Hit that follow button. It makes it easier for others to find us, and it helps us climb in the rankings. Take a screenshot of the podcast, post it, tag us, and let everyone know that you listen to the Fermented Adventure podcast. Now, back to our podcast. The bees that are in there now, is there a queen in there? Do they know they're separated from the hive? Do they know they're stuck in there until you let them out? And how do they get back out into the regular hive, the population?
Yeah, so a bunch of really good questions. So there is not a queen in there because every time you open the hive, you risk damaging the queen. And they can replace the queen, but at this point in the season, and we're taping in middle October, it actually is too late for them to replace the queen. So if we damage the queen, the hive's going to not make it through the winter. So at this point in the year, we do not pull the queen out for show, although in the summer, if you come see us, you'll usually see the queen. I lost track of the other questions.
Just do they know that they've been separated from the rest of their bee friends?
They do, yeah. So bees communicate primarily by scent or by pheromone. So bees have been out of the hive for a couple hours, so they probably can't quite tell yet that the queen isn't there. But within the next couple hours, and certainly by overnight, they'll realize that there's no queen, and they'll start to get a little more agitated, but they'll be back in the hive before that. I won't let them stay out overnight.
What's really cool is, as we've been talking, maybe about the bees, they seem to have gotten louder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they know they're being recorded, and I guess they want to be part of the podcast as well.
Yeah, they have a lot to say, too.
Well, they definitely want a royalty. They told me that earlier.
Dawn and I, we love Mead. And we are really big proponents of what beekeepers do, because without beekeepers, we don't have the honey, we don't have the mead that you then create. Where you are, the pollinators, the pollination, are you seeing more of an influx in honey production, bee population, or what's your active role to educate and help produce honey so you can continue to produce mead?
So that's actually an interesting question, because I run the mentoring and apprenticeship programs for the Chester County Beekeepers Association. I was also the vice president for a few years ago. And the mission of the club is education and promotion of bees and anything honeybee related. With that, our club has over 600 active members. In southeast Pennsylvania, there's over 3,500 registered beekeepers. So you're supposed to register with the Department of Agriculture. Not everyone does, so it's probably twice that amount. Where I live, I'm in Westchester, closer to Downingtown. There's 8 beekeepers within a mile of me. So Chester County is pretty densely populated with beekeepers. And these are just hobbyists, not even the commercial guys. So the commercial guys have like 100, 200, 300 hives. We all average about 40, 50 hives each, so we're called sideliners. But depending who you talk to, we're verging on commercial too, because now we have a product line and all the other things we do. But with the education, it's all about sustainable beekeeping, responsible beekeeping. So if you think bees like a pet, you take your pet to the vet, whichever doctor it is for whatever type of pet you have. There are certain vaccinations they need to have, shots, just general health checks. We do the same for bees. There's different treatments we have to do for different things that bother them. We basically create a healthy hive and teach others also how to have healthy hives. Because bees fly generally a 1.5 mile radius up to 3 miles from their hive. So it's very common for bees to go interact with other hives. So if one hive is not healthy, that affects everyone within that 3 mile radius. And diseases transmit very, very quickly.
Yeah. I keep an eye on my neighbors' hives too, for that exact reason. Both as an act of being neighborly, but also, frankly, self-preservation. Because if they have a problem, it's going to be my problem in a short period of time. The other thing that we do is we also make sure that we don't take too much honey out of the hive, because the reason they create an abundance of honey is because they need to eat over the winter, because as you know, flowers aren't in bloom. They have to create excess honey in the summertime and then kind of burn through their inventory over the wintertime. So what we take is the excess, but we make sure we leave enough on there for them to safely make it through the winter, because otherwise they could starve if you take too much honey off.
We've had conversations with Philadelphia Bee Company, or Philadelphia Bee Company, and one of the interesting conversations is they're an urban honey producer, and with where you are you able to ascertain and get a sense of where the bees are pollinating from? Have you gotten that kind of technicality on understanding your honey?
Yes. So with the 3 of us, we have about 150 hives. We'll do satellite imagery of the locations that we have our apiaries, or if we're getting a new apiary, we'll find out what's around there so we can determine if it's something that's worthwhile for the bees. So just because something's very, very green on a map doesn't mean it's great for them. Somebody who has 5 acres of grass looks beautiful, nice and green and lush. That's a desert for bees because there's absolutely nothing for them to eat. So we basically follow the Brandywine River from Downingtown down through Chadds Ford, because it has all the resources they need: water, pollen, and nectar. So pollen's their protein, nectar is the carbohydrate. So they have the balanced diet and can be healthy.
You introduced us to the fact that you're a home brewer, a home mead maker.
Yes.
Obviously, you have honey on, you're plenty of honey around, right?
Yes.
But when did you decide to say, well, all right, we're not just going to sell the honey, the creamed honey? When for you was it, I want to make mead? Like, what was it? What stung you to do that?
That was pretty good. So it's actually our third partner, George. It was his idea. Like, hey, can we make the mead? I'm like, absolutely. We did the taste testing. Everybody loved it. Okay. And we all put our minds to it. Like, this is what we're going to do. So we established a process, how we do the fermentation. So we go from start to finish, start to can in 6 weeks. And for anyone listening, if you look up a mead recipe, they'll typically say 6 months to a year to the finished product. We refined the whole fermentation process to speed it up, because we didn't want to sit on mead for 6 months to a year and have barrels and barrels or carboys and carboys or a whole bunch of fermentation tanks running.
So the story really is, George didn't bring some bottles of mead or some cans of mead and you're all sitting around going, maybe we should make this. It was just kind of that progression of, hey, we have honey. This is the logical sense.
This was my... I was a recreational homebrewer, I mentioned, for 30 years. I used to compete. I won a number of medals for homebrews and wines, and I think I have an idea what I'm doing. We also got a medal for one of our meads, a strawberry, this year. So it was just taking all that experience and all of our enthusiasm and trying to create this incredible product to share with people.
Then when we started out, we started making the traditional wine style mead, like a 10-12% still drinks like a wine. And we were selling that at festivals, and that was doing well, but we kept noticing that like the beer tent just had a much longer line than ours ever did. So we were like, what if we make it a little bit more drinkable? So that's how we kind of came up with the canned idea. So these are, lower ABV, they're 7%, they're carbonated, and there's just more of like an easy drinker than like a glass of traditional mead.
Taking that homebrew experience, taking that understanding of maybe what the customer or your raving fans would like to drink. Have you tried making a braggot?
I have made braggots in the past. because of the Pennsylvania Liquor Control Board, the way licenses work, we can't make a brag.
Don't tell them. Just call it something else.
Yeah, this isn't being recorded, right?
No. So maybe as you share with your friends and family at home, that's something maybe you're making now or people can enjoy?
I will be over the winter.
All right.
So.
Yeah, I mean, see, what happens is once you develop the skills
Yes.
and you have all these avenues of how can we deliver this flavor, character, body, all those things, and having that, it's like, I got the Ferrari in the driveway. Let's take it out and see what it can do, and the skills of driving and how you improve that from there.
Yeah.
And the fun thing about Mead is your imagination is the limit. So whatever you can think of, you can make something to realize that dream. So, our dream was the buzz. So, we're realizing our dream. We're happy all of our customers like it so far. And we're coming out with new flavors. We're working on some other things that'll be released this winter, a couple next year. But it's very creative, and it's a creative process that we all enjoy. So if somebody had an idea for, let's do passion fruit, or let's do a lavender hibiscus, or let's try something else. So we're always trying flavors. We always have something new going.
Yeah,
not all of them work out. Just like cooking, you make something, doesn't always work, but...
Yeah, the nice thing about honey is because it pairs well with so many different things, and because it kind of pulls the flavor out of a lot of stuff, because it's so acidic, you can really get a lot of interesting flavor combos. So you see we've got 8 cans here, from hoppy down to passion fruit, down to pumpkin. I mean, there's really kind of a wide variety of flavors and taste experiences you can get out of just the meads.
You talked about a creative process.
Mm-hmm.
I am very surprised the word buzz for the name of a meadery was not taken. But what was that creative process for naming your mead?
Well, our workforce is answering the question. If this comes across on the podcast, they all just start buzzing.
Okay.
So it was like, we're at Bee Keepers. We're always around buzzing bees. That's where the name Buzz came from.
Didn't know if there were other ones bandied about, but this one just said, or this is the first one, and the bees said, this is what you should name it, and it was like set in stone.
I think we came to the buzz almost right away.
Yeah, it was pretty immediate.
Yeah.
Okay. I think that's fascinating because it's Independent Spirits Company in New Jersey. That's a distillery.
Mm-hmm.
And they were so surprised to see the word independent wasn't taken. Just as when you went to register the name, I can't imagine, there not be a surprise going, wait, of all the names, nobody took this yet?
Right.
That is fascinating.
Yeah.
We still are waiting for our trademark application.
Okay. There is so much we can not record today, and we'll have to edit out, isn't there? All right, well, we haven't had your mead yet, and I'm excited to share, and for Dawn and I to try it and share this with our listeners. Which way you taking us?
We're starting left to right. So
left to right. We have we have 8.
We do.
Yeah, wow. Cool.
Wow.
So
We're gonna be buzzed.
We're going to use our fancy...
We're gonna be buzzed.
We're going to be buzzed on Buzz. And I hope you are as well.
you guys want to share?
Now we'll share this one, yeah.
Sure. So I'll take one.
So this is the hopped or hoppy mead.
Yep, this is our hoppy buzz. So we're going to start you off here because this is kind of, it's got, I think, the most honey flavor, and it's also like the best, I think, way to start for all the 8. So you kind of get the most honey, you get like a nice herbal hoppy taste, and also it's like, you kind of don't expect this. Like, I've had mead before we started making it, and like the idea of like a hop mead was like, just didn't make sense to me because I just associated so much with that like crisp, bitter IPA taste, but you get kind of just a totally different thing here. So I'd be interested to hear what you think about it.
I automatically love the nose. It's funny because Dawn and I will talk and share. In the beer world, we're not a fan of IPAs. There are some that we enjoy, but we find that we can share one together, but after that, it's just not pleasant for us. But hopped mead,
Totally different story.
absolutely.
Yeah.
I love the fact that what that honey or that mead does to it, it amplifies, but it also mellows out what that hop bitterness employs into the mead. The nose on here is very refreshing. It's very lovely. I get the floral notes, And I'm just going to continue to nose this because there's something I'm trying to find here, and I can't seem to put
Definitely the grapefruit.
the grapefruit.
Yeah.
But there's something else here, and I can't seem to find it.
Love.
Love.
Yes. All
I
our
could
meads are
definitely
made
drink
with
that
love.
can by myself.
Yeah. So the honey taste really comes through on this one. So you also are actually tasting the honey that our bees make as well.
This is just one of those nose profiles that you can just enjoy without even trying the mead yet.
Right.
And it just leaves you. I'm really feeling like it's a summer day,
Yeah.
and I'm just out on a porch somewhere, and maybe there's a live band playing somewhere, or maybe there's a sports venue that I'm at, and it just kind of this screams to me. I really want to be outside, and I just want to enjoy the summer as we head into fall. But I can still see myself having a can of this and raking some leaves too.
Exactly. And
So it's very flexible.
so what we went for with all of our meads are light, dry, and refreshing. So none of even our traditional mead is not heavy at all. It's not like the meads from way back when or meads from here that are cloyingly sweet, heavy, and thick. All of our meads are very, very light. And we want something, these are session meads, we want something sessionable. You can have a few or however many you want, but something easily drinking, easily drinkable, easily shareable.
It on the nose, I think it presents a little bit sweeter than it does on the palate, which I like because this, to me, as you talk about, I'm sure you get this. This is a beer drinker's mead.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's what people say, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
You get that maybe at festivals. Oh, I don't like mead, or I've never had mead.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what do you like? Oh, I like IPAs, or I'm a beer person, right? This is right up somebody's alley
Exactly
to
what we
introduce
give
them, right? And I almost feel like and taste like that hoppy note to this. I get like, and maybe it's just the creaminess of the honey that I almost feel like what you're going to get from a creamy ale on the mouthfeel, that's still there. It does finish out a little tannic and dry, but this goes back to me sitting out, in the summertime, just watching a show or just being able to enjoy the atmosphere of everything. And I can see why, you call it a session mead. It's perfect.
Great. Thank you. Thank you.
Were there many iterations of this and different hops that you tried?
Yeah, so interestingly enough, this started out as a still hopped mead. So I think we only tried the one hop or maybe one or two hops. So we kind of narrowed that in closely, but Walt made a batch of, 12% still mead, and we were bottling it and we were drinking it and we were like, it's good, but if it was cold and carbonated and a little bit lower, like it would just take it to like another level. So then Walt did his fermentation magic and here we are.
I don't get as much of the grapefruit or the citrus notes. Do you?
I think I get it more on the nose, but I can taste it a little bit on the mouth. I like sweet, but to me that's not super dry. It's kind of in between.
Yeah.
So yeah, I like it.
Well, that's nice.
Oh, thank you.
And I still, after having this one, I'm saying to myself, why haven't we met you before? Where have you been? When did Buzz Mead officially get launched?
Last December.
Last December.
So less than a year.
Less than a year.
Yes.
What are you doing to celebrate your 1-year anniversary?
Actually, I haven't thought about
Yeah,
that.
we had not even considered that. Probably working an event.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I see a polar plunge, people holding cans of mead, just heading right out into the ocean and just see how long you can hold your can before having to
That's
run
an
back.
idea.
I don't know.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
that's a solid idea.
Or just in solidarity. I don't know about George, but hopefully he sports that handsome look of head.
Yeah.
Yes.
You'll see what that's like when you look at the pictures on our website that we
Okay.
all share that same,
Except for me.
except for Dawn. Yeah. What's next?
So next is lime and mint.
I'm really just, as you do your own research, product development, and you said that some of these don't land, they don't all hit. But, what's that conversation like where you're introducing maybe a new flavor? Are these perhaps meads that you're having or other things you say, you know what, they made it, but I think we can make it better? Or
how about I was, I had this idea. What's that kind of research and development conversation for that next expression?
So a lot of it is one of us had an idea. I think I like mojitos. That was kind of the idea for the lime and mint. So kind of think similar to mojito, not quite the same, but that was the genesis of this product. We never ever looked at something someone else made and said we can do it better, because somebody put all their passion into creating something. We don't want to infringe upon what they're doing. We want to be our own company, our own creation. So everything that we do is 100% ours. Of course, with a mojito, yes, there was inspiration for that, so someone else created the mojito, but we're not trying to make it better. We're just trying to do a different offering, making a mead out of it.
Yeah, and then really it's just, if you have if one of us has an interesting idea for something that either tastes good with honey or might be good in a mead, we'll make a test batch of it and see if it's maybe got legs, and then just keep refining it until we get something we like or throw it out. And there have definitely been several that we've done a few iterations of, and we go, we just can't make this work, and try again.
We had the hoppy mead.
Yes.
And this is the lime and mint. But my nose is saying sour.
Yeah.
I feel like if you handed this to me and I nosed it, and I didn't know this was mead, I'm thinking you just handed me a sour beer.
Yeah, that one is definitely our most refreshing and crispest mead. So if it's a really hot day, that's absolutely what you want to be drinking.
On the palate, I get that mojito character, not as much the sour character. This is fun because this is like the tale of two meads. You get the nose and you get the palate, and what do they say? The carpet doesn't match the drapes. So, but that's fun because it's something that it's going to keep us guessing. It's going to keep us. All right, I can't wait to try that next invention, that next idea that you have, because who knows where you're going to take us. What do you think? You are making your own mead. You are making your own honey, or as beekeepers. Do you find that with all the hives you have, that you're selecting specific hives consistently? That's good. That's going to be good for this mead, or this honey is going to be good for this mead?
Yeah, there's two ways to answer that. So we found that in Southeast Pennsylvania, where we're located, the spring and early summer honey makes a good mead. So the honey that we make from, say, July onward, frankly, just has too dark of a taste, and we've not been able to make a mead that we like with it. So just like every flower has its own color and smell, the nectar from each flower has its own color, sugar content, flavor profile. And that early spring and early summer honey really just lends itself to make a lighter, crisper, more floral mead. The later summer and fall honey tastes great, but it's very jammy, very rich. And we've just not been able to make a light drinking mead out of that.
I can't wait till you make the stout style mead out of that series of honey.
We're playing around with that now.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
they're stealing our ideas, man.
You'll have 2 fans for that one, because that's
So we like to say we take this from flower to fermentation, or from bee to bottle, or bee to can.
I think the bees are happy.
Yeah.
They like that idea
excited.
too.
Yeah. They like
we're part of this. Cool.
Yeah.
They're buzzing.
Do you find, because you have to make money with this, and this is a business, it's fun. You get to do what you do. You get to meet the people. You get to try all these ideas out and see what lands. Do you find that this is at least a little bit of a leg up, having your own source of honey so that you're producing your own mead, cost-wise?
So yes, just what I just said, we control the entire process from flower to fermentation. So we know exactly what honey it is because it's our honey. With that, to go a little sidebar about the honey, we produce or collect 8 tons of honey a year. Tons. So that has its own logistical challenges of how you deal with and store 8 tons of honey.
We have room for honey storage, don't we, at the house? We'll take care of it for you.
But with that, whenever we pull honey out of the hive, we taste it. And also, flowers bloom at specific times of the year. So we know what we're getting May, early June, up till July. with that, we also taste, because there are seasonal variations. Some things, this year was a little different. It rained all of May, so our honey production got pushed back a little bit. But we're still tasting, we know what honey profile, flavor profile we want, and that's what we want to come through with the mead. So we're very selective about the honeys we use.
So far, 2 for 2.
Oh,
you have a better batting average than the Phillies did in the last series.
It's too soon. It's too soon.
Oh, sorry.
You notice I'm wearing an Eagles shirt, not a Phillies now, so I've transitioned.
It could have been one of the high school Eagles shirts. I didn't know if there was a high school affiliation.
So now we're on to lemon basil.
Now, obviously, you said from the beginning, Steve, you made this wine style. And then you transition to cans. Who does this wonderful, bright, fun artwork on the cans?
Oh, so we did actually hire a designer to create the full design. We created and I'm doing air quotes here, vision board of kind of the direction we wanted to go in. So we found some, honestly, a t-shirt that I saw when I was on vacation. I was like, oh, I kind of like the look of this. And then let's combine it with a few other things. And, when you look at the can, you see that it came out to kind of like a stained glass rubber sole kind of vibe, which is really fits nicely with the fact that we're beekeepers and it's got that nature feel. It's a little bit kind of graphic-y, arty. It's really I'm very pleased with the way it came out.
What I appreciate about it is that if I'm a fan of what you do and I'm looking for, I'm going into a store trying to shop for, or I'm out at one of the festivals, I can easily, quickly recognize by the can that's Buzz.
Yeah,
and that's what I see. And I'm also thinking about a marketing idea. You sell a can, no color, and you include the pens so people can color it in on their own.
Oh, that's brilliant.
That's cool.
He always has great ideas.
You give them a set of pens, and it becomes adult. Color by numbers.
We can do a customer creation label.
Yeah, and then perhaps let them, give some to the word.
He's for hire.
But that's the fun part about that what I saw right there. That I can come in and draw my own colors there and maybe stay in the lines.
So adult color by numbers is now a thing.
It is a thing.
Coloring, so.
Yeah.
On the nose and even on the palate, on that basil. The recognizable character for me is this is almost a little bit bordering on, let's say, a gin cocktail. Mm-hmm. And I enjoy something made with basil. And I think that citrus and where you get the botanicals from the honey, it almost is reminiscent of a gin cocktail. So I'm curious about the feedback you get from your customers on, what they enjoy or what they find in this.
So the fact that you mentioned the gin cocktail, that actually cocktails are part of the inspiration for some of our flavors. When our customers try lemon basil, it's either, wow, this is great, or this brings me back to when I'm sitting at the beach. And I can't tell you how many times people have made that beach comment. And so where we're at different festivals and markets, a lot of people say, oh, I'm picking up, a couple 4-packs because we're going to the Jersey Shore this weekend. This will be perfect for hanging out at the beach. Or just hang out in the sun. We're sunning ourselves, we're by the pool, nice, easy, light drinking, something fun.
Yeah, it does have those classic cocktail elements. So you've got the bitterness from the carbonation, you've got the citrus and the herb, which all kind of blend together, and the honey really is what connects all three of them. That really ties all three together. It is really almost it's like a cocktail in a can, though it is a mead. If the PLCD is listening, it is a mead.
You brought about the opportunity to be at festivals and shows. Mm-hmm. Talk about some of those festivals that you've done or that you have upcoming, and is there a place, do you do a farmer's market on more of a regular basis? How do people find you to order your meat?
So go to our website, revolutionbees.com. It lists all of our distribution channels, so which distributors we're in, also which restaurants we're in. Also has an events page, which is which markets, festivals, whatever pop-ups we're doing. Our next one is actually this week, which is a shame that
you missed it. Yeah. You really did. Yeah. But it was great. We had a fabulous time.
We're going to be at the Pumpkin Carve in Chad's Ford Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
Yes.
And then I think the next Not the next weekend, the second weekend after, we're going to be at the Westchester Growers Market, which we're there once a month. So
the Philly Wine Fest will be our next big festival. So that's in middle of November in South Philly, I believe, at Xfinity. So we'll be pouring samples there.
That you can make, because this will have not aired yet, and you'll be able to get your tickets and enjoy that festival. That's pretty big.
Yeah.
That's a big festival to be attending. And, for you, George comes up with this, hey, how about we make some mead? But what has been some of that feedback for you to say, you know what, we're onto something. This is, we're really making some really quality mead here, and people are enjoying it.
the feedback from our customers. When we started with the traditional mead, people would come up, and we were going to bring this up at some point in time. We basically had 4 types of customers.
Yeah.
I've never had mead before. I've had mead and I don't like it.
Yeah, so then there's I've never had mead before, I don't want to try it. I've never had mead before, I'm interested. I've had mead before and I like it, and I've had mead before and I don't like it. And that 4th one, I've had mead before and I don't like it, usually is the biggest with, also, I've never heard of it, and maybe I'm a little curious, but I'm a little nervous. So like when you give people that first pour, that first sample, and you see their face light up and they're like, oh, this is delicious. For the person that has never had it before and never really heard of it, that's great. But even better is when someone who has had mead before and they hadn't liked it, and you give them a pour and they're like, I didn't know it could taste like this or taste this good. Like, that's just like, that like makes my day. Like that makes,
Yeah, that's why we do it.
Yeah.
It's like, wow, we've either introduced somebody to something or changed their mind about what the style can be. And it's like, oh, this is something enjoyable. And like Steve said, it makes his day. What makes my day is somebody takes a sip of any of our meads and they go, oh, yeah. And their face, you see their face lights up, and it's really cool. It's why I do this, why we all do this, but it's sharing enjoyment. We have a passion, obviously, because we're doing this, and it's sharing that passion with other people and seeing them enjoy our passion.
As you talk about, these are the 4 personalities. I feel like you literally created this mead personality test, so that if somebody comes up and says, I've never had mead, you go to the diagram, and this is how you're going to have the conversation, right? I have mead, I hated it. All right, they said they hated it and have had it before. This is what we say.
Then you ask them what they like, so you can kind of match it.
So we usually go, okay, what do you normally drink? And if they say, well, I'm a beer drinker, okay, hoppy. I'm a cocktail drinker, okay, we got a couple options there with our various botanicals. I'm a wine drinker. Well, maybe we go with the lemon and basil. I like something sweet. Our strawberry, which I'll try in a little bit, is probably our sweetest, although it is still quite dry. So we kind of know where to point people to get them to something that is maybe not such a leap from what they're usually drinking. And then if we can get them to like that first one, then the door opens to all the other flavors.
And what almost always happens is they get that first taste, like, oh, I want to try that. I want to try that. I want to try it. Like, yeah, sure. That's why we're here. I mean, please taste them all. Pick the one that you like the best. But
all right, pumpkin. Let's try that one.
yes,
Yeah.
All right, so this is a squash. This is, pumpkin. I haven't had it yet. I'm excited to try it. What has been, you talk about that trial and error, or you talk about how you go about making a specific mead. What's this one been like for you, understanding that, the squash is starchy, or what are you doing to pull out the flavor and the character that you want to have in your mead?
So there's actually a bit of a story to this. This was based off a recipe I did as a home brewer, and I won a medal for this. And everyone I gave it to said this was the beer version was the best beer I ever made. So when we started doing our cans, I had this in the back of my mind, like, oh, this is what we're going to do. The interesting thing, when we go to the festival, we give people samples, like, oh, it's a pumpkin spice mead. People always assume pumpkin spice is something sweet, like a certain coffee company makes. So that's the initial hesitance we get. And we said, no, it's dry. It's not like what you're thinking it is. And we've had a number of people go, there's a flavor in this I can't quite put my finger on. And I usually wait for it. It's usually a couple or a group of people. And one person will go, you're actually tasting pumpkin. Because it's not full of sugar. It's not overly sweet. So you actually get to taste the pumpkin in it. So that's a lot. That's a big surprise for a lot of people is what pumpkin actually tastes like. It's not sugar and all the cloves and cinnamon and everything else you put into it. But so you're mentioning the starchiness. The starchiness doesn't really come through. Or tell me what you think. I don't think it does. I thought pumpkin's fairly easy to work with. I think most fruits are fairly easy. It depends how you work with them. But as long as you understand how the fermentation process works and where you add the fruits in that, or the squash, as opposed to the squash, like you said, where you add that along the process, you can either accentuate parts of it or diminish the parts that you don't want to come through.
For me, what you talked about, you hit that example perfectly, that pumpkin really doesn't have what we drink out there in the world of beers and coffee and whatever iteration people want to make. Pumpkin is all this spice. You don't get that pumpkin flavor. And the distinguishing factor is, you're right. I get that, that it's almost like this wonderful stickiness on the palate that I get that's the pumpkin. But there's also a little bit of sour note to this. And on the back end, I get a slight pumpkin spice. Not a lot. Almost like, all right, there's maybe clove in there or nutmeg, maybe some cinnamon, but it's nothing
Muted.
No, exactly. There's nothing where I'm drinking in this order: spice, mead, maybe pumpkin. This is, to me, pumpkin and mead at the same time, because you can't lose the fact that you still get the mead, which in itself has so many different flavor components anyway. And then you get, there is a little bit of that spice there. This is just, hey, we're sitting around the fire and the fire's crackling.
Thank you.
For the way that you interpreted how you want this pumpkin to be, this is delicious.
Thank you.
And again, it's a journey.
Yes.
Because somebody's going to go, as you said, I don't know what that flavor is. Somebody else goes, if you've ever had it, that's what pumpkin actually tastes like.
We really go for what's on the can is what it tastes like. So you look at the picture of the can, there's a big pumpkin right there. This tastes like pumpkin. Same thing with the strawberry you're going to try next. It tastes like strawberry. So we want to have just very simple recipes that really reflect the natural ingredients we use and the honey that our bees make. We're just trying to keep it extremely simple because we think that it comes up with the best flavor that way.
I feel like I'm having this Willy Wonka conversation. Do the snozberries taste like snozberries? It's coming to you soon at a meadery near you, the snozberry mead. This is refreshing.
Thank you.
And it's one of those conversations where, Dawn and I have, it's like, why haven't we heard of these people? You're literally, we probably have passed each other on the road at somewhere. You just started in December.
Right.
How are you working? You're doing the shows, but, what is it that really is hitting to get the word out about your mead? Where people are coming back and go, oh, good, Buzz is here. I loved them before. I got some of their stuff, but then they're, getting more interest and more excitement. How are you getting the word out?
So really, a lot of it is doing the show. So we're trying to just get samples in front of as many people as we possibly can. So we're hitting every beer fest we can get into. We mentioned the wine festival earlier, so we do a couple of those a year. Really, it's just trying to get the samples in front of people. So anytime we land a new account at a beer distributor, we always make sure that, we're there 4 to 6 on a Friday pouring samples for everyone that's coming in, or, whatever time makes sense for them. It's just getting it in front of people because it is, most people don't know what mead is, and the few that do, a lot of them don't like it. So you just got to get it in front of people. It's kind of a niche product, but I think it's got mass appeal. It just people have to realize that they would like it. Because when you talk to them about it right away, I don't know about that. Is it going to be sweet? Am I not going to like it? It's not what I normally drink. It's just, you just got to get out there. And we find that just pouring samples for people really is the best way to do it.
So this is your award winning.
So we won the bronze medal at the National Honey Board Mead Competition this year. And this is our strawberry.
Now, did you get that notification in the mail? Did they send you an email?
Email. I think we submitted our entry 3 months ago.
Over the summer, yeah.
Over summer, and then the judging was, I want to say, late
September.
September.
Yeah.
So we actually just got the medal mailed to us last week, but we were notified 3 weeks ago.
Yep.
So.
Well, congratulations.
Oh, thank you.
Who did the happy dance best?
My wife, because this is actually her favorite food. She has a reserve of cases of this in our house.
I can see why.
On the nose, to me, that's like that strawberry hard candy. That's what I had, that strawberry hard candy. And Dawn isn't giving up anymore. I'm glad I brought 2 glasses with me. No, we're good. We're good. Now, all right, so you've got these, you've got lemon, you got lime. Are you staying local for your fruits and your additional flavorings? How are you going about sourcing those?
Unfortunately not. So for specific to the strawberry, we use aseptic purees, which are not local to Pennsylvania or Chester County. We do try. We had a lavender supplier, but they couldn't produce enough lavender that we needed, which you'll come to that next. We do try to go not as natural. We do as natural as possible. So whatever is on the can is what's in it. There's nothing else. So strawberry, this is mead with strawberry. That's it. There's nothing else. Same with the hoppy buzz or anything else. It was mead with hops. We want very, very simple, very natural ingredients. No fillers is the wrong word, but no junk. There's no junk in any of our meads. Traditionals is just plain mead. But in any of our buzz products, it's all, whatever's on the label is what's in the can. There's nothing hidden, nothing extra, nothing fake.
Yeah, and the reason we use the purees is everything Walt said, plus we were using local fresh fruit in the beginning, and we would have some just batches that went out of the park, and then we had some where wild yeast would creep in, and it would have just a bit of an off taste, and so we would have to, abandon those batches. So when you get the aseptic puree, that concern is completely eliminated. So from like a product consistency perspective, it's just a lot safer to use those, because otherwise, you'd have to discard an entire batch if you get a wild yeast in there.
How did you go about? I mean, is it the same yeast for each mead that you make,
yes.
Or you change? They're all the same.
And going into that, when we first started with the traditional meads, so George and Steve weren't homebrewers. They didn't understand all of the characteristics yeast can impart on a product, beer, wine, mead, whatever you're fermenting. We got every beer yeast, every wine yeast, and every champagne yeast that exists. And we did tastings over months with copious notes. Oh, this tastes like this tastes like that. I liked this yeast better than that. There was a hint of something in this. And it was probably 3 months of tasting.
Yeah, dozens and dozens of...
Dozens. Each iteration was dozens of tasting, dozens of batches.
Yeah.
And it actually was a lot of fun. There was a lot of note-taking, a lot of scientific method. It was all tracking. All of our fermentations are tracked meticulously to temperatures. Everything you can track, we track. So we could really pinpoint the yeast characteristics that we wanted. So we finally settled on the one yeast and started with our traditional, and then off of that broke into our flavored, the buzz line.
I would have loved to have been part of that. I think, that's whether it's mead or cider or spirits and things like that, it becomes that geeky side of just wanting to know more. Mm-hmm. And I think through what you did with your yeast, I think it helps to create that consistency besides the honey aspect. I think your mead is one of those personality traits in your mead that maybe somebody like me would pick up, but somebody who's never had mead or is trying your mead for the first time may recognize but not be able to pinpoint. I just find that you can tell, and I would love to say, tell me your opinion on this. I think the yeast you're using provides a creaminess to all your meads, and it also creates this dry component a little bit to what we're trying. I know for you, the sweetness aspect, and you pull that out of the strawberry, right?
Yeah, and all I can think about right now is I want that with chocolate. I like just have this craving now. I want dark chocolate and that strawberry. Yeah. So good.
So this is like one of those things where if you have a couple that they like different components of something, like you go to a winery. Dawn loves more sweet wines. I like more bold, dry wines. This mead and the ones we've had so far, I think really provide opportunity for both people to say, you know what?
Yeah.
I pull the sweetness, I pull what I want. We can each, they can each be for us.
Yeah.
You can really balance out the dryness of the mead with the various like flavor that we put in. So the strawberry is like the great example for that. You get that sweet strawberry berry taste, but then it does still have that nice dry finish, so it's crisp, and then you're like, you can't wait for the next sip. I mean, it's just, yeah.
So I said, that strawberry candy. So strawberry candy has that hard outer shell, and then you get to the soft part. And as we've been talking, as I finish my glass, now it's where I get the that soft, oozy part of the strawberry. It's almost like a perfume that just lingers in my mouth, and that's very enjoyable. That's what for whoever judged that, they really screwed up, because it should have been at least a double gold.
No, thank you.
Yeah, I mean,
thank you. It's very kind.
Somebody really screwed up, and we need to demand a recount. Are there plans where you're opening up your own tap room? Are there plans for more distribution? How are you looking to grow? What's the next steps for Buzz?
Yeah, so we're starting to talk about a tap room, and we're trying to figure out like what makes sense for us and what makes sense to have our customers come in and sample our product. And then distribution, yeah, absolutely. So we're mostly distributing in Delaware, Chester counties, and a little bit in South Philly and Center City. And we're kind of working our way up through the ring counties of Philadelphia. That's the plan for like the next year or so, and then expanding to the rest of the state and hopefully out of state to New Jersey and Delaware in the very near future. Sadly, there's no MeadCon this year. That was canceled, because I think that one of the best parts about that is you get to work with and meet and just interconnect
everyone
with
else in the industry.
And I think that's a good sense of feedback, but it also gets people throughout the country talking about and sharing your mead with other people. And look, I think the world of mead is still growing. It doesn't have enough structural backbone, so to speak. I think that where you are with your honey organization, I think maybe that's something that's more of a jumping off point, where if you're making honey and you're a beekeeper, maybe that's more of the network and channel where you're going to get some things outside of your own little space here, and more people want to try and be introduced to that mead. I don't know if those are conversations you're having, because you have your head down in a lot of ways, and you're just trying to get enough of this to people so they could become fans of what you're doing too.
And you're totally right, but you also made a very interesting comment that mead is kind of a new idea to the market. The ironic part of that, it's the first fermented beverage. So
it's the oldest thing.
The oldest fermented beverage. Right. So everything old is new again.
Right. It seems in the hierarchy of things in the 90s, early 2000s,
yes.
Craft beer really catapulted on the scene.
Right.
I think cider, in a lot of ways, is having that spotlight put on them.
Yeah.
Wine, you look at the 70s, 80s, 90s, and establish that. And I think for wine drinkers in particular, and I also think for beer drinkers too, they're looking for alternatives now. Right. They're looking for, all right, I think I've had just about everything under the sun. Surprise me, dazzle me. And just on the nose, I love lavender.
Thank you.
And this, to me,
I love the color.
So this is the lavender hibiscus.
I'm plugging this in and making a scent air freshener out of this. This is
awesome.
Delicious.
Thank you.
Yeah.
This lavender hibiscus and the one we're going to try after passion fruit are our two newest flavors. We released these last month.
Yeah.
I mean, these are brand new, and we absolutely love these, and the customers really love these. Like
these are now fan favorites.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
The flavors you get out of this lavender hibiscus are incredible. You get that herbal zing up front, and you get that like tart sweet hibiscus on the back end. I absolutely love this one.
Dawn, how are you at math?
Not as good as I probably was, but
Because I know they said 8 flavors, and I only see 7 cans.
Oh, we're bad at math.
What was missing? We're going to try the passion fruit, but are there things that you're still working on, or one that just hasn't gone into production yet?
No, you're not missing anything. This is everything that we have.
Okay.
We do have a few in the works that we're still perfecting.
Okay.
To go back to, it was a comment you made. It was with Mead is new. You know, we're very excited to introduce people to meads, and we like to think that we're making the best product possible to make that introduction. So there's a lot of care, I mentioned before, love, and this is everything's done by hand. It's the 3 of us. The fermentation, the canning, the labeling, it's all us. So everything we do, we put our heart and soul into, and we want to put out the best possible product for someone to enjoy. If it's not anything that we don't think is excellent, then we don't give it out to customers, or just even for samples. Yeah, we want the category of mead to be something everyone. Not everyone enjoys everything. Not everyone enjoys wine. Not everyone enjoys beer, whatever. But for people who can enjoy mead, we want them to have the best experience possible, and we try very, very hard at that.
I get this lingering peppery component to this. Mm-hmm. Is that something that you've drawn out of, or that you noticed that you said that was surprising? Or has anybody ever said that about this one before?
A few comments.
Okay.
That wasn't an intention when we created this. It was a byproduct of the combination of lavender and hibiscus, but it does work nicely with it. It's an additional complexity. So our meads, we make them very simply, but I'd like to think that there's a complexity to all of them too. Like even just a plain hoppy, just hops and mead, but it's a little more complex than that. And you were going on about the flavors and the nose and the profiles. It's part of our process in how we extract the flavors out of the honey, the yeast that we use, how the temperatures that we control the fermentation at. So it's extracting all those little itty-bitty characteristics that when you take as a whole, make this complex product. You know, it's something simple. It's in a can. I mean, how exciting is a can? But once you pop it open, drink it, smell it, take the whole experience, it is, you mentioned this earlier, it's a journey. You know, it's something enjoyable. It's something I can sit and ponder. I can have a few of these. I can enjoy this on porch or whatever. And it's something that we really want people to sit, enjoy, and just relax and have a thought about, oh, this is what mead is, or this is my afternoon. You know, I'm having a nice mead, I'm having this, I'm having that, and just relax and enjoy.
I almost want to finish the podcast on that note, Walt, but we still have one more can we haven't tried, the passion fruit.
Here we go.
You know, and I love the way you describe the experience of enjoying your mead. I'm almost thinking that, you know, if Country Time Lemonade was cool again, they would be Buzz Mead. I don't know. I'm not going to give them that idea. So,
I wonder how many people who listen to your podcast would actually know Country Time.
Well, since my mom listens now, maybe she would, because I think that's what we used to have in the refrigerator quite often, Country Time Lemonade. Again, this passion fruit, I love, there's a juiciness to this.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Is unctuous a word?
It works with passion fruit because it's got that, I mean, when you bite or drink into it or have a sip of it, you get that whole tropical flavor. But like, you know, passion fruit, if you have it just by itself, is quite bitter, but also has that kind of unctuous, like kind of slick taste to it. And that does come through a little bit in the mead, although but like with everything else we make, it does still finish dry. Yeah. I really love this one because if you like a sour beer, like a tart, like this is like right up your alley. Or if you want to be on the beach, this is great. If it's January and you want to pretend you're on the beach, also great. Yeah.
Again, I just keep going back to the consistency. The nose on each one of these is wonderful, and they're very unique.
Thank you.
And I think a lot of times what happens is that when you come up with another idea for another expression, for another flavor, there's almost like that was like the last one, but a little bit different. That's like these are all unique on their own, even though, as you pointed out, the honey's roughly the same, the yeast is roughly the same, but what you're adding to those flavors is creating a unique, drinkable mead. And you can literally, what are we talking ABV here?
7%.
7%.
All of them.
So, I mean, literally, these are one of those things where you got a couple that you can have in the course of, if you're out and about, if you're on the beach, you're not going to get hammered. So you can really slow down and enjoy these.
Yes, exactly. It's a nice afternoon, nice evening.
When do you stop and say to each other, let's just, we make 7-8 different really nice meads. Let's just stick with where we're at and say to the customer, this is what we have right now. Stop giving us ideas for new flavors. This is what we're offering.
I don't think we're ever going to stop doing that.
No, because going back to what I mentioned before, the creative process of creativity, there's no limit to what we can do. So it's finding the next thing. Like, I'm happy to say that you would say these are all excellent or very good.
I said tremendous, maybe. I don't know. We'll go back to the podcast and
Tremendous, that's awesome.
Yeah, we'll check the notes.
Okay.
Maybe the next one's going to be even better than what we've made. And it's always continual improvement. And I mentioned we're always taking notes about every batch we've made. Is there something that we can tweak? Can we make something 0.02% better in whatever part of the process? And I mentioned we want to create the best possible product for customers. So it's not that we want to achieve a certain level. It's just we want to constantly grow. We always want to elevate the category. And I know a lot of other mead makers think the same. It's like, oh, we make something, but there's always something else. And we're always trying to better what mead can be or expand what it can be. There's never going to be a pinnacle of achievement. There's never going to be, oh, this is it. No, there's always something else. And we and the other mead makers also need to pursue that. So we always have to try and do something more, better, more incredible. So
I can't say anything better than that. I mean,
thank you.
Nailed it, yeah.
Thank you.
On that note, is there anything that we haven't spoken about today on the podcast? Anything you want listeners to know more about you or Buzz?
I would say just, come find us at an event. We've got quite a few things going on through the end of the year and try our meads. You can get them at a local distributor. You can buy them from our website or you can buy them directly from us if you come to a festival in November and December.
Let's do a little bit of a shout out. Who are some of the restaurants or where can people find this locally to those that are handling and serving your mead?
So we're at Four Dogs in outside of Westchester. It's Marshallton for people who know. We're also at Hilton Garden Inn and Fairfield Inn in Chadds Ford.
We're at Beer Hall in Thornton, and if you're in Center City, Philadelphia, we're at Her Place Supper Club and Milo.
And give the website again so people can order and have that mead shipped to them.
RevolutionBees.com.
RevolutionBees.com.
Yes.
This has been a treat for us.
Oh.
And I am so grateful to Fractured Sauce, who apparently you made a great impact on because they love your mead. Thank you so much for being a friend of Fermented Adventure. Can't wait to see you at that festival, the market, opening your tap room, creating that chocolate strawberry flavor, which you're going to call the Fermented Adventure flavor. So that'll be wonderful. These are, I will say this. These are tremendous meads. And for, what you're doing, these bees are working hard and they're producing some just the honey and what they're offering to you is so special. So thank you so much for all this. Thanks for your time today, and look forward to sitting down and having more mead together at some point.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah. Cheers!
Cheers.
Cheers.